With us now, Republican strategist Rina Shah, also with us, CNN political commentator, former Biden White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield. And I would like to say we have shown enormous restraint so far in this broadcast. It's 8:39 a.m., and I don't think we've mentioned the Veep stakes once. I'm ending that restraint right now. They just mentioned it right there, but it took a long time. And Kate, I want to play some sound for you because the contenders were out this weekend, including one who hasn't received quite as much attention, and that's Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, who went on Fox where he's very comfortable, and he went on the attack. Listen.
People think that crime is up when crime is down under Joe Biden and crime was up under Donald Trump. Now, I don't know how often that gets reported on this network, so if you're watching this at home, do yourself a favor and look up the data.
Well, we invite that.
Great.
So, okay, two-part question here. Number one, do you think there is any realistic shot for Pete Buttigieg, who doesn't really bring a state necessarily with him? And two, the way he goes about that, the attack rather than defend there, what does that represent in terms of what might be a strategy for the Harris campaign going forward?
Yeah, well, I think there's absolutely a possibility for Secretary Pete, because here's the thing about the VP conversation. Everybody wants to game out the X's and O's of, who can bring what state and what constituency. And obviously the political calculation is part of the discussion. Of course it is. But ultimately the choice is going to be, who is the person that VP Harris feels has the best connection with, trusts, would be, would have as a governing partner, would have as a reliable, campaign partner, somebody who's going to be able to go out and make the case in an effective and reliable way, which Secretary Pete obviously can. So sometimes I think that the kind of calculation around who has the best elector, who adds the most, electoral benefit, is a little overplayed relative to what's actually happening inside the campaign. In terms of discussions about who she picks. So I think people should remember that. And for that reason, obviously VP Harris has worked with Secretary Buttigieg in the administration. And of course, as we've all seen many times and just saw yesterday, he's a terrific communicator. In terms of his response there, I mean, it was textbook. It was excellent. He, one thing that he's so great at is, he's always level-headed. He's always calm. He goes back on offense without seeming like he's flustered. And I think that is absolutely what Vice President Harris is going to do over the course of this next 3.5 months, taking it to Trump. She has, all the reason in the world to be on the offensive and to be aggressive. We've seen her campaign kind of put this race in the freedom, versus wanting to take away your freedoms frame, which I think is terrific and resonates with people. And so I think she has every opportunity to be aggressive over this next 3.5 months.
Rita, we just had that graphic of the 6 possible VP picks up there. It's got to be so tempting, and we can put it back up again if you're in the Harris campaign, looking at that, being, geez, Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania is so important. Mark Kelly, Arizona is so important. And then to a lesser extent, Cooper in North Carolina, and then Tim Walz. But that Shapiro and Kelly thing, I mean, could you resist the temptation of picking people who may be very good on paper, but also come from a key state?
Well, look at history. The VP pick doesn't need to come from a swing state or a state that's in play or important for the VP pick to be successful, for the ticket to be successful. Look at Paul Ryan when he joined Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan of Wisconsin. Look at Tim Kaine when he joined Hillary Clinton from Virginia. So I'm just saying, it doesn't need to be from this all-important state to be successful. And history tells us that. But as a practical matter, look, I would have loved an all-woman ticket. It does need to be somebody who is not just a male, and I don't even know that it needs to be a white male, but somebody that's got this broader appeal. Shapiro's definitely turned some Republican heads. You see a lot of center-right types say, this is a governor I actually like. And then for Kelly, of course, I mean, we can't discount the fact that he's so well liked in Arizona. The Sun Belt is a place that Democrats need to do better in. So when we look at the numbers, the Veep stakes gets a little, for me, a little sort of, how can I put it, boring. I think Minnesota is exciting because Republicans in Minnesota, I've known, have always been very independently minded, very purple in ways. And I think Tim Walz is turning a lot of heads with Gen Z and millennials. Yeah. He speaks in a practical manner. He's somebody that looks like maybe he might be one thing, but then you peel back the cover and you get a whole lot of what you may like. And I'm talking about you meeting independent voters, center-right people who could come and join that Democrat coalition and help out like they did in 2020.
So there is this landscape of people who are up for the potential vice presidential position with Kamala Harris, including, it seems, Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation. He has made some comments earlier, sort of speaking to what you are talking about, Bakari. Let me let you listen to what he has said over the weekend.
But even before the pandemic,
And international.
even before the pandemic, America went into a manufacturing recession, which really hurt places like where I come from in the industrial Midwest. But anyway,
But
my point
unemployment
is,
was
my
low.
point is, he broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it. The Biden-Harris administration got it done. He even broke his promise to that January 6th mob when he said, I will be at your side when you march down to the Capitol. But he actually did keep two promises. He kept his promise to destroy the right to choose in this country, and he kept his promise on tax cuts for the rich. And if you want to know what a second Trump term would be like, I would start by looking at those rare promises that he actually managed to keep.
Bakari, that sounds awfully vice presidential to me.
Oh man, listen, Pete Buttigieg is a bad man, like a bad man. He is one of the
Bad
best, if
meaning
not
good,
the best
in your
communicator
view.
we have in the world. Yeah, I mean, that was a colloquialism. There we go. That SAT word I'm using this morning. He is one of our, if not our best communicator. But look, we have Josh Shapiro, Mark Kelly. You've seen Governor Walz, who's probably not at the top of my list, but I'm not choosing, making some headway. You see Pete Buttigieg, Roy Cooper, the governor of North Carolina. I mean, there are a lot of good choices, a lot of good communicators. There aren't many minuses to the ticket. They bring governing experience. But I know a lot of reporters are chasing this story down about vice president. And I will tell them what I believe to be true, that Kamala Harris is looking for one real thing, which is who will be a governing partner with her, that comfortability, that level of trust. And I know that Pete and his husband have a great relationship with the vice president and the second gentleman. I know there's some other relationships with the other candidates, but if Pete Buttigieg is the vice presidential nominee, I'm not sure he will be, but if he is, there will be a robust question of, is the country ready? I'm prayerful that it is, but that will be a question that is asked.
Lance, I'm curious, just turning this on his head, who do you think would be good for the Republicans, for Donald Trump, for Kamala to choose? Someone that you could go after, for example?
I'm going to go back to what I said originally. I think, look, she's got a choice to make on her own. But going back to what Pete Buttigieg was talking about, no one believes what he's saying. Show me a poll where voters actually believe that the economy is headed in the right direction. Show me a poll that people are happy with the cost of living. Show me a poll that said people think, oh, everything at the border is fine or that crime is going down. That is not the case for voters out there. So I don't really think it matters who she picks. Again, I go back to it will be Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris at the end of the day. And what has she done to fix the border? Nothing. What has she done? She cast the deciding vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which sent prices skyrocketing even further in this country. What was her role in the decision making to pull out of Afghanistan? These are all questions voters are going to have, not calling people weird and not really figuring out who she's going to pick as her vice president. They want to know how she's going to govern at the end of the day. And based on her record, it's a pretty far left record of governing.
Bakari, you have the last word very quickly. I saw that.
No, I was just going to say he wanted a poll. I was just going to say, go look at the stock market. I mean, look at every economic indicator to figure it out. If you want to have a conversation about cost and like the price of whiting at Piggly Wiggly, then that's fair. We can have that conversation. But if you actually want to look at true economic indicators like job growth, wages, the fact that inflation is actually going down, the stock market, those type of questions, then all of those indicators are pointing in the right direction. But I like this conversation. It's better than most conversations we have when we're talking about the trash that Donald Trump spews.
Bakari Sellers, Lance Drover, thank you both.